welcome into the Birds of the Roundtable for, sadly, not a Victory Tuesday episode of the podcast. For the next couple of minutes, I will be your host until we spin for a new host. I'm just going to try not to fumble the transition like so many people fumbled on last night, but we'll get into all of that. We had a deal at the start of the season that I would continue hosting the podcast as long as the Eagles were undefeated. Unfortunately, that streak came to an end, so we will be spinning for a new co-host now who will assume my responsibilities now that I've let this podcast down until they let the podcast down. So it'll either be my man Dibes, give him a follow on Twitter at Mr. Crockpot, or it will be Ryan at Philly Sports Alliance. So Dibes, I'm going to turn it over to you. Click your little rigged spinning wheel there that we all know that you rigged for whatever you wanted, and let's see who is going to take this over.
It never ends, man. May the odds be ever in your favor.
Oh, my God.
Come on. One more. Yeah! All right. So I am the host of tonight's show. Guys, wherever you're watching, Philly Sports Alliance, the Painted Lines, Edge of Philly Sports, please be sure to smash that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you are watching us live, be sure to comment. Let us know your thoughts. Let's do quick introductions before we jump into kind of what we learned from week 10 before we head into week 11. My man Shane at @halfandhalf_TBL. What's up, Shane?
What's up, Dibes? I was up way too late last night doing post game, and today was just a crazy day. So this might be the least prepared that I've been for a podcast in a long time, but we're just gonna say that I'm being in character. Cosplaying as the Eagles, just showing up unprepared. So it'll be fun. Let's get into it.
Ouch. All right. And then we've got the Ryans of Philly Sports Alliance. What's up, guys?
Hey, what's up? What's up?
All right. Let's not very enthusiastic here. We already have a comment. What happened to our Eagles, man? They're not winning another game.
Oh, wow.
All right.
Overreaction Tuesday. Here we go.
We are starting off on fire. Let's just jump right into the offense. The Eagles got the L. I think it was 32-21. Let's jump into kind of, Shane, your takeaway offensively, although you look kind of frozen on your end. I'm going to throw it to the Ryans. What was your quick takeaway from this Eagles offense?
The Eagles offense, just honestly, they weren't that great, but they also didn't have a lot of time. I felt like the time of possession was insane.
Wow.
I felt like the Commanders had the ball 95% of the time, and when you don't have you don't have the ball that much, it's hard to get into a rhythm. It's hard to kind of get your game plan going, and you saw that in the first half with the Eagles, and they had a good first drive, but again, I felt like they didn't have the ball again for forever. So I think that was the biggest detriment to them, last night, is they just couldn't get into their rhythm. And, unfortunately, when you combine that with some bad luck, some missed calls, some whatever you have, that's never a recipe for victory. So.
Yeah, that was my takeaway. I'm just going to piggyback off of that. It starts on the line of scrimmage, man. That was my take, was you talk about time of possession, man. That was less. The Eagles only held on the ball for 19 minutes. That was less than all but one team in the league in a game this year. That's how bad this was. They only had 7 plays in the second quarter. Washington ran 81 plays to the Eagles 47. And I'm just, like I said, it starts on the line of scrimmage. And I was just shocked at how much the Washington Commanders were able to just out-physical the Philadelphia Eagles there, man. It was shocking. You look at, kind of how careless this Eagles team was with the ball. The Eagles came into this game offensively with just 3 turnovers. That's the fewest through 8 games in franchise history. And they had 4 turnovers on Monday night. So I thought the Commanders just punched the Eagles in the mouth last night, and literally all 3 phases. It was shocking. It was definitely shocking. Not at any moment did I think the Eagles were out of that game. especially offensively. Like we just kept waiting and waiting for something to happen, but they kept getting in their own way, man. It was a tough game to watch for sure. Shane, can you hear us?
I can. No joke. I finished what I was saying, and my entire computer screen froze. And my camera was on, my mic was on, it just froze. I had to reboot everything. So I thought I would give you guys a head start on the podcast, just like the Eagles gave the Commanders a head start last night. So yeah. I'm back now, though. We're all good.
Sean says, "What's up, guys? We need to run the damn ball." You guys agree? We'll get into that very, very soon. Actually, like, there's some really interesting parallels between the Washington Commanders and Indianapolis Colts that we're going to be talking about. Ryan, number 2, what was your take offensively?
I mean, mainly just kind of repeating what you guys were saying. I mean, you had a lot of chances to move the football field. They didn't really execute on it. Keeping control of the football, being smart with it, wasn't there. I was with, a lot of the people in the crowd yesterday when we were chanting, "Run the football, run the ball, run the ball." I mean, you were saying it was 80-something to 47 for plays, Washington versus Philadelphia. I just want to know if you guys, I'm sure one of you two have this stat, what was the run-to-pass ratio or breakdown there? Because it just felt like they needed to just continuously move the football in a methodical way, and they weren't getting that done by trying to pass through the air. So it was very frustrating.
What about any take on that, Shane? And what was your takeaway from the Eagles' offense?
I do have those numbers. The Eagles ran the ball on 42% of their snaps versus throwing it on whatever that makes left, 58% of the snaps.
Yeah.
So in the first half, the Eagles only had 2 running back runs.
Yeah.
And I didn't really care about that, to be honest. They had 4 drives in the first half. The first one was like the 3-play touchdown off of the strip sack. The second drive, they drove the length of the field largely passing the ball. And then early on the third drive, you get the interception to A.J. Brown, which is not a throw that I would make, but it's the exact same throw that Jalen Hurts made for the first touchdown to A.J. Brown against the Steelers. It was into double coverage. The ball hit A.J. Brown in the hands. I don't think he should be making that throw, but he's shown he's going to make it. He's going to put it on target, and sometimes it gets you a big play, sometimes it costs you. And then they had their 3-and-out in the 2-minute drill situation. So going into half, I didn't have a problem with their run-pass ratio, really. In the second half, I felt like they needed to start running the ball more just to give their defense a breather, and I thought they did that. So I really didn't take exception with the offensive scheme at all. And I thought the offense played pretty well, just a lot of flukiness. I mean, how many the Eagles have 3 turnovers in the first 8 games of the year. And I mean, if you set aside like the fumble on the hook and ladder thing, that doesn't really count. But if you set that aside, they had 3 turnovers. They doubled their season total of turnovers in 1 game. There's a lot of fluky things from the offense. So I felt like the offense played fine. It just seemed like every mistake that was made, and there's mistakes made in every game, but every mistake that was made in the highest possible leverage moment, and it cost the Eagles every time. I mean, the last game against the Texans, Jalen Hurts fumbles the ball and it bounces right to Travis Kelce, right? This game, the fumbles didn't bounce your way. There was some bad turnover luck like that. And so it's unfortunate that all hits in 1 game, but I really didn't take much away negatively from the offense in this one.
Yeah, and speaking of the run to pass ratio, I had no problem with Jalen Hurts trying to go downfield on this team as well. There were plays out there to be made, but you saw A.J. Brown kind of be soft going up and not getting the ball. You saw kind of some drops and things like that offensively. I thought there were definitely plays out there to be made. And I thought Jalen Hurts had a really strong game. It just wasn't their night, man. It just simply was not their night.
Jalen Hurts made 2 bad plays that I can think of. One of them I'm positive was a bad play. It was the 3rd down when he ran into the sack. There was no reason for him to drop his eyes like that. Now, I don't know what downfield looked like. Maybe nobody was open, but Kenny Gainwell was wide open at the sideline at the top of the screen. It gets you at least to a 4th and manageable. So that was a bad play. And then I would say in the 2-minute drill, when he threw the ball to A.J. Brown, who fell down, he had Kenny Gainwell wide open at the first down marker. Now, I would have to be able to see the all-22, which isn't out yet, to know how open Brown would have been if he didn't slip. Maybe he's more open than it looked like because he fell down. I don't know, but I think that was a bad read. And then that decision to tuck and run. Other than that, Hurts played a good football game, and the offense played good. Just some bad that ball that he threw to Quez Watkins should have ended the game. They get the holding, and it goes to 1st and 20, and my entire thought process was just get part of it back. You don't have to push here. Just get some yards. And then he lets one rip down the field, and I was just thinking, oh no. And then he hits Quez Watkins in stride. It should have been the game. And Quez Watkins trips up, which shouldn't have happened because that ball was perfectly on the money. And then when he does get up, he fumbles the ball. Just a comedy of errors.
Yeah. Comedy of errors is a really good way to explain that game because there was a lot of errors not with the players as well. Real quick thoughts before we get into takeaways defensively. What were your thoughts on the officiating? I'll leave it off, Ryan.
How much time you got?
I
mean, it's unfortunate with the Dallas Goedert, play that happened with the missed face mask, with the injury that happened after, adding insult to injury or however you want to put it, and then it being a fumble. That was really unfortunate. But the one thing that really got me was that penalty at the end, the personal foul or the personal, So roughing the passer was just a terrible call. I mean, I know he went down, but he wasn't like attacked in the really vicious or heinous way.
The spirit of the rule, essentially to protect that quarterback.
I mean, he went down.
He got hands on him. Yeah, and he fell over basically. It was a good sell job by him.
Yeah, I didn't think that should have been called, but.
And then what was the one where they got the late hit when the guy's foot was clearly still in bounds?
Yep.
Yeah, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson hitting Curtis Samuel on that jet sweep.
Yeah. I mean, again, you obviously you never blame the refs, but when you combine a bad ref game with a game where you're just things aren't going 100% right, it's obviously a recipe for disaster. And we could have used some things to go our way. It didn't, and that's ultimately what led to us not having the ability to try and come back in the game. So it was unfortunate. The refs just weren't the sharpest.
What about you, Shane? Before we get into the defense.
Yeah, to me, the missed face mask is the most egregious thing that directly causes a turnover. The Chauncey Gardner-Johnson one, that should not have been a penalty. He's still in bounds. But that one, at least, it's a first down already. It cost you yardage. It didn't cost you a possession. It didn't give him a first down. So it's a bad call, but it's not that impactful in the grand scheme of things. The one at the end of the game, I think that's just unfortunate all the way around. So I have never before in my life seen a quarterback do that. I've never even thought about what do you do in that situation, right? And so Brandon Graham's never thought about that either. And Brandon Graham said after the game that he was trying to touch him while he's down, which makes perfect sense, right? And it's unfortunate the officials blow the whistle as Graham's hitting him. The whistle maybe comes in a little late to declare him down. I don't necessarily think it's a bad call. It is because he didn't really hit him that hard. It was kind of a nice sell job there by Heineke, but I just feel like that was sort of an unfortunate thing all the way around. Like, I wish that flag doesn't get thrown, and I don't think that it actually was a penalty, but I think it's just a little bit of, that's an unprecedented thing. Brandon Graham's never thought about that before. The whistle comes just a little late. Heineke has a good sell job. So the most egregious thing to me, the thing I was most fired up about, was the face mask. I did think the Eagles also caught one, that OPI on a third down. That was not OPI. I wouldn't have thrown that flag. That's a pretty clean rub route. So the Eagles caught a break on that one too. At the end of the day, though, on your home turf as a double-digit favorite on a long week, you can't let it come down to one or two plays from the official. So I was annoyed during the game, but you just can't even let it get to that point.
Exactly. All right, let's roll on to the defense. The obvious problem is that Gannon is softer than the bread on my Philly cheesesteak from South Street. I hope Nick Sirianni and Jeffrey Lurie chewed him out. Let's get into this defense, which a lot of people are talking about today, the day after. My take on the Eagles' defense was the Commanders' run setting up third down. Like that's my lasting memory of Monday night. I think people are overreacting to the Eagles' lack of run defense. I said that during the halftime show. I wasn't on the post game, but I stick to it. Yes, they were able to get more manageable third down situations. But what I remember is just the Eagles getting carved up on third down. They were 9 of 12 in the first half. Taylor Heineke was 5 of 6 for 75 yards, 15 yards an attempt or a completion. It was just astronomical. There was a segment in the first half where Terry McLaurin had 3 straight third down conversions. It was just a hot combination of bad personnel against the run as well. But, the Darius Slay being out of position, there was a lot of just way too much Jonathan Gannon having his team playing off the line. I didn't feel like we dialed up any timely blitzes on third down, which has been one of the biggest strengths of this Eagles defense. They're not a heavy blitzing team, but when they do, it's darn good. And we didn't see any of that, arguably. And, that goes to a guy like Robert Quinn. The dude played 22 snaps. You gave up a 4th rounder for the dude, and he's playing 22 snaps. He barely played against the Texans. We're 3 games in now. And Josh Sweat got hurt, I believe, right, at one part of the game.
He wasn't out long. He only missed a couple plays, but yeah.
Regardless, there was no pass rush. That was just really surprising. Just kind of going back to my line of scrimmage comment about the Eagles offense, they got pushed around way more than I expected, and that's my last memory. It was just the Eagles just getting bullied, and that kind of goes into the main takeaway is the blueprint out to beat the Philadelphia Eagles. Maybe if you're a bad team, because you saw what happened against the Texans, you saw what happened here against the Commanders. Well, guess what? We're going to be breaking down this Colts offense. Guess what, guys? Matt Ryan likes to get the ball out very fast. They got the running game back and going last week. We're going to break it down very, very soon. But we're going to, like I said, there's similarities here between the Commanders and the Colts and what they like to do offensively. So I'll throw it to you, Shane. What was your take on the Eagles defense?
I have a lot of takes about the Eagles defense. And most of them are going to run contrary to what everybody else is saying on Twitter. People want to scream from the rooftops about Jonathan Gannon and how awful the defense was. They want to talk about how bad the run defense was. The Eagles held the Commanders to 3.1 yards per carry in this game. 3.1 yards per carry. The best rushing defense in the NFL this season is allowing 3.5 yards per carry. They held them to 3.1. On early downs, their EPA per play was negative 0.06. The Eagles defense did their job on early downs. The idea was let's get them into third downs and then get them off the field. The Commanders ranked 27th in the league in third down conversion rate at 34% coming into this game. It gets a little better in the second half. They end up going 12 of 21, but at one point they were 11 of 14 on third downs. They converted 5 of their 6 first downs, they converted 5 of 6 times on third downs in the first half through the air. The pass defense was a major letdown. Yeah.
Shane, Taylor Heineke was 5 of 6 on third downs. The first third down of the game was an incompletion. The rest of that, Tyler Heineke was perfect. Yeah. Crazy in the first half.
Yeah, and some of that, I think, comes down to Avonte Maddox being out. You saw early in the game, Darius Slay was not in position on a couple routes. 2 times on the first drive, I thought that he expected Josiah Scott to carry a route further than he did. There's that communication factor that Avonte Maddox is out, Josiah Scott hasn't played those quarter flats as much with Darius Slay. The communication issues are there with all the zone matching, and maybe that gets into Slay's head a little bit, and now you're thinking instead of reacting, and that half second of hesitation, I don't know what it was, but Slay had probably his worst game as an Eagle after that. The pass defense majorly let them down, and now it was always 3rd and shorts, right? 3.1 yards per carry, but you mentioned the blueprint out on the Eagles. The Texans tried that blueprint and they lost by 12 because it's exceedingly hard to execute 15-play drives against a good defense and constantly convert 3rd downs. That's why offenses are designed to get explosive plays, because it's so hard to do that. The problem with the Eagles defense was on 3rd downs, the execution wasn't there, in my opinion. Like, there's so many things. Now you could argue that you should be able to withstand a slot corner and a defensive tackle that plays 35% of the snaps. You should be able to be better with those 2 guys out. And you might be right. Maybe it's time that they need to do some different things schematically here. But I thought the scheme was there. I thought the execution from the back end of our secondary that we want to call elite, it just wasn't there. And the tackling wasn't there. And it came down to execution to me a lot more than it did the X's and O's.
Love it. What about the Ryans? Takes on the defense.
Yeah, you said it well that Gannon is certainly getting the hate right now, online. And listen, I don't think he had his greatest game. I think he was very passive in my opinion. And the 3rd downs was atrocious. The run defense seemed like it wasn't that great, but again, if you're saying at 3.1, I'll take that every game. And I think a lot of people are just easy to blame the fact that we don't have Jordan Davis. Well, Jordan Davis plays 20-25 plays a game, and we were doing just fine last year in the run defense. We're doing fine before Jordan Davis kind of ramped up. And is he an important part? Yes, absolutely. But that doesn't mean that the rest of the team forgot how to run defense, Mm-hmm. But yeah, the 3rd downs, you combine that with the passive defense, in my opinion. And Slay obviously didn't have his greatest game either. I thought McLaurin kind of just, did what he needed to do and did what he wanted. So you combine all that, it's not a recipe. And the fact that they were out there for so long, they were tired, they were exhausted. So I like you, Shane. I'm not ready to tie up Gannon and throw him off the bridge. Like the rest of the world, or at least the rest of Philly is right now. He obviously does deserve some blame, and I think again, I'm not sure why he was so passive. Again, I need to go back and rewatch the game again. We were both there, so we miss a lot of kind of the intricacies of the game. So, but yeah, I just again thought he was a little passive, and the 3rd downs were just.
It seemed to me like. And all 22 is not out yet. And normally I've watched all the all 22 by the time we do this show. But with the Monday night game, it's not out. So I don't know. I may change my mind on the rewatch there. It seemed like to me, because Jordan Davis is out, you're devoting more resources to stopping the run. So your linebackers have to fill gaps faster. Your safeties have to play downhill faster. And so people say, why is Darius Slay playing 7 yards off of Terry McLaurin? Yeah. Well, because the safeties have to play downhill faster against the run now. So if you put Slay in press coverage on McLaurin, he's got no help over the top. And Slay may win 80% of those reps. Sure. The 2 or 3 that he doesn't, those are touchdowns, as long as Heineke puts the ball on target. And so you could argue that there should be a better plan. You could argue you should change your defense and go single high, run the Jim Schwartz style of defense, go +1 in the box, all of those sorts of things, which still necessitates you playing off coverage. But we could set that aside. You could say we should structurally change the defense, and I think at this point that is what needs to happen. But I don't fault Gannon for, in the second game without Jordan Davis, trying one other set of things. And, if you come into the Colts game and it's the same thing and you're still getting run on and this doesn't get corrected, then it becomes a Gannon issue. But so far, I don't really fault his responses. He's got to get it right, though. Like, the defense is too good, is too talented to continue to do this. I see the reasoning behind what he's done so far. I just want to see the continued evolution.
And there were adjustments. Like we did see man coverage out there instead of zone, and they were still just getting carved up. The blitz percentage went from 22 to 50% from the first to second half. So Gannon did try a little bit. It was just a hot mess of so many different variables.
And he moved Hargrave to the nose in the second half, and the run defense was a lot better. Which is unfortunate that's what it's going to take, but that's what it's going to take. Hargrave's just going to have to play the nose until Davis is back. Marlon Tuipulotu should never set foot on the field again, ever. He's a terrible football player.
He was terrible last week. He was terrible again he stinks. Walter says time of possession was a joke. Ryan, number 2, any thoughts before we get into final takes of this game and move on?
Yeah, I mean, watching the game and, you're hearing a lot of the names being called out for making plays. I did like to hear Javon Hargrave's name quite a bit. TJ Edwards, again, having himself a pretty decent game. It's one of those things, like, defensively, you felt kind of what Shane was saying. Like, they're not getting large clips of yards running. So what is happening right now? And then we get to the point where you're just watching them eat up clock, watching this game move by you, and then you'd hear Terry McLaurin's name again, and then watch them run. And it was so methodical and just marching down the field. But the coverage on McLaurin, I mean, he's a very talented wideout, but I felt like every time they needed to make a play, he was the guy who made the play, and it just seemed like we couldn't get after him. So that was very frustrating as somebody sitting there watching this happen time and time again throughout the night, where it's just hearing Terry McLaurin's name over and over. And I think that was the most frustrating thing, because you're watching the game and you're just saying, well, they're really not moving the ball that well running it, but when they have the opportunity to throw it, they're getting everything that they want. So it was just very frustrating.
Rose, let's roll into final thoughts about the game. Silver lining. The Eagles, maybe they were getting a little cocky. I don't know, because the execution was bad. The game plan was bad. If there was like a week to do this, I'm okay with it being the Commanders. Bring them down a notch. This was maybe a pretty good reality check. I'm not overreacting to this loss. I'm still very high on the Eagles and their chances in the NFC. I think people are definitely pushing, the narrative as well and changing narratives. Like, I'm still in that preseason mode where I had no clue the Eagles would be sitting at 8-1 heading into week 11. I'm good. I'm still over the moon enjoying what we're seeing from the Eagles. I think there are some concerns in play, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens moving forward. And by the way, the Saints are sitting at number 4 overall in the 2023 NFL draft. And if there was a week where, Jalen Carter would look pretty nice rushing the passer from the interior next to Jordan Davis, or Will Anderson opposite Josh Sweat, because you're not getting much. This was the week to kind of open those eyes just a tad. So final thoughts, Ryan, please help.
You want to go first?
I mean, it was a tough loss, but I mean, it felt like one of those games moving in where you had so much time, and between the bye week, the baby bye after the Thursday night game, where it just felt like somebody might be hungrier than you, and it looked like Washington was hungrier than we were.
No question.
So that was tough, but I really think that every division game is important. So it's a tough loss in that regard, just because every single division game is so important with this division and this year. So, but other than that, high hopes. Keep it rolling.
Yeah, Dives, to kind of put what you were saying, I keep going back and hearkening back to us talking about this team in the preseason. And nobody, not one person, not the most Homer Eagles fan, could have ever predicted that we would be the last undefeated team. We're 8-1.
Well, there's always the one person that says 17 or 16
17
every year.
Well, that guy doesn't count. But like the fact that we were 8-0 coming into this game, and it's funny. You go on social media and people, man, they are just. It's like the world is ending. We're 8-1. We're the best team in the NFC now.
You got to give everybody a little bit of credit. Not credit, but give everybody a break, considering what happened with the Phillies, what just happened with the Union.
Oh,
and
God.
Then they're still hurting.
That was weeks ago.
They're
Get
still
over
hurting.
it. Get over it.
So they want the Eagles to be perfect.
I get it. But we're 8-1. We are the best team in the NFC. The other team we were tied with, the Minnesota Vikings, we defeated them, so we already have the tiebreaker on them. I still feel great about this team. Is it perfect? Do they have things to work on? Yes, absolutely they have to. They need to figure out this defense and what they're going to do until they can get Jordan Davis back. But again, that doesn't mean that all their problems are going to be fixed because one player, especially a rookie. They need to scheme a little better. They need to, execute better. But outside of one game, I think they've had, 80, 85, 90% great games where very small little things you could say each game, okay, they need to work on this, they need to work on this. But they have been executing, they've been playing well. I'm happy. I'm okay. Normally, after a loss, it usually takes me a couple of days. I'm already fine. I'm perfectly fine because I know they're going to be fine. And I know the schedule that's coming up, I know that they have very winnable games. And again, if they can execute, clean a few things up, they're going to be fine. So,
and they're playing a tough running back next week. They play a tough running back on the 4th.
Right.
And they're going up against Aaron Rodgers, who might have figured things out.
Maybe. We'll see.
Yep. What about you, Shane?
Just one other fun stat from the game. Brian Robinson had 86 yards rushing after contact in that game. He had 86 total yards.
Yeah, I was going to say, isn't that his total yards? Jeez. Oh, wow.
So again, tackling. It's been an issue. They got to be able to tackle guys, knock them backwards. But, I mean, for me, the best thing to do at this point is you just flush that game and you move on. Like, it was a litany of error. If you tell me that your tight end, your top 2 wide receivers, your best edge rusher are all going to be in and out of the medical tent for the night, you're going to give up historic third down numbers, just get doubled up in time of possession. You're going to have some atrocious officiating calls go against you. And oh, by the way, you're going to double your turnover output on the season in one game. And it's going to be a 1-score game at the end, and you got a 2-minute drill chance to go win it. If that's your bad game, this is pretty good.
Yeah.
Against a division rival, everything goes against you. The ball did not bounce your way at any point in time in this game. And the ball was in your hands with 2 minutes left and a chance to go win, and should have won if Quez catches that running. So I don't feel badly about this game. It was frustrating to watch, and almost immediately after it was over, I just flushed this game and I'm ready to move on. And it's a short week, so we get to do that. So I am ready for the Eagles to get back into a normal routine, though. I mean, a bye, a Sunday, a Thursday, and then a Monday.
Right.
And it's like they've alternated long weeks and short weeks. Like, let's just get back to Sundays. Football was meant to be played on Sundays, and the Eagles are 6-0 this year playing on Sundays. So let's just stick with that.
I'm good with that. Sundays at 1. That's when football's meant to be. We have Blue City Empire Sports, our resident New York fan chiming in. saying the Giants are one win away from taking first place.
And that's the danger. That's the worst part. If you're going to drop a game there, you don't want it to be a division game because it hurts tiebreakers. But the NFC East has been good this year. And we talk about Minnesota, and the Eagles are tied with them, but they have the tiebreaker. But they've only got a game on the Giants, so they've got to play twice. They've only got 2 games on Dallas. So the margin just got thinner. They got to bounce back and hit the ground running on Sunday.
Yep. All right. Let's roll into this Colts game, do a quick preview. As you're watching here, Madden 23, Eagles versus Indianapolis. Eagles got a 28-16 lead. We just saw another giant missed tackle from the Eagles that led to a really big gain for the Colts. So let's get into it. The Colts are in this season, 4-5-1, I believe, so far. They've had a really quality win against the Kansas City Chiefs at home. They've got other wins in Denver versus Jacksonville, and then last week in Las Vegas. They've also got some bad losses. They got blown out by Jacksonville, which was not good. They have a tie in Houston in the first week. They got blown out by the New England Patriots 26-3. So let's jump right into kind of our top matchups to watch. And starting off with the Eagles offense, let's do it. Who wants to go first? I'll go first. I'm at Matt Ryan versus Jonathan Gannon's blitz. I mean, we just talked about how Gannon played way too off the line, not blitz enough. He did make adjustments in the second half, but let's look at Matt Ryan. Quick passes. That's how kind of the Indianapolis Colts have been able to kind of accommodate an offensive line that is not very good. Matt Ryan had the third shortest time to throw last Sunday, and he got the ball out fast. And I don't know how many times they got to him, but they didn't get to him very often. The sacks were down. He was very accurate on his passes. He was very good at getting the ball to his receivers and get yards after the catch. And he had a really good 7.9 yards per attempt. So I look at this Matt Ryan versus Jonathan Gannon blitz. We talk about the blueprint of beating the Eagles, and that's kind of what we've seen in consecutive weeks is get the ball out fast against this Eagles defense, and whatever happens. I got another one. I'll throw it to you, Shane. What is just kind of one of your matchups you're looking for the Eagles offense versus Indianapolis defense?
Eagles offense versus the Indianapolis defense. I'll go. I'm really interested to see how the running game functions with Dallas Goedert out. We got the news today that Dallas Goedert has the shoulder injury. He's going to miss some time. It's not season ending. Dallas Goedert, he is a foundational piece of the offense. I said before the trade deadline that he would be the worst person to lose to injury aside from Jalen Hurts because so much of their RPO game, everything's predicated off of Goedert. They use him in the RPO game. They use him as a blocker. They use him in the screen game. There's no person that can replicate his skill set. I think he's the second best tight end in the NFL at this point, and so losing him is huge. And I think it's bigger for the run game maybe even than the passing game because you have to respect him in line as a passing threat, and he's such a good blocker there. So I'm interested to see what the Eagles do to counter that, how they structure the run game. I think you're going to see them go with more 4 wide receiver sets and get Zach Pascal on the field. Not because he is a good blocker. He's not going to block like Goedert, but I think you might see them try to spread it out and try to run into some light boxes that way. But I'm just really interested to see what Shane Steichen and Nick Sirianni come up with, how they adapt to Dallas Goedert going out.
Yeah. What about the Ryans?
I think that's a really good point. I kind of just thought about that as you were saying that, Shane. It's going to be very interesting. So that's a really cool thing to look out for. I'm going to take the obvious one and probably what he was about to say and just Jonathan Taylor versus the Eagles' run defense. Kind of just seeing how we adapt to how we played last week or yesterday and going forward. So just seeing how we adapt, move personnel, be able to pick up, some of their maybe hints towards runs and things like that. So that's what I'll be looking forward to.
Yeah, no, I definitely, and I think not only that, Taylor has struggled this year. Obviously, on Sunday, kind of broke out of that a little bit. Had, I believe, 146 yards rushing. So that wasn't great to see, considering we know we were going to be playing him. But in connection with that, and if we're going to be playing the same type of defense where we have to play a little soft, the Colts, they're going to slant us to death. I mean, you have Paris Campbell, you have Pittman, you have Alec Pierce, the rookie, who's playing really good. That's what they do great. They literally will just quick hitch, slants, and Matt Ryan, as you said, gets the ball out really quickly. So if we're going to be playing off of them because we're worried about the run and we're changing our defense to make sure that we're stopping Jonathan Taylor, well, why wouldn't they do the same darn thing that the Commanders did? Is establish the run, and then boom, start working on that pass because we're worried so much about the run. I'm not going to lie, this is going to be a big, eye-opening test for me because can this defense adjust to a team that's going to attack them in such a way that they're right for the picking? And I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little worried. I just hope that the adjustments can be made and the execution, more importantly, is going to be there more than it was last night.
Yeah. We have some comments. Blue City Empire Sports says Carson Wentz is so lucky he was not playing against the Eagles at the link. The Commanders just stole all the other 32 teams. I mean, the Texans did that a little bit. But,
I mean, they did. The key is to hold the ball for 2/3 of the game.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
every
exactly.
third down and rely on them doubling their turnover output.
Did they tell everyone how to beat any other team in the NFL?
Yeah.
Although we do have to give the Commanders credit. Their victory completed the wheel of parity for the 2022 NFL season. So I don't know if you guys follow that, but I always think that's fascinating.
No, what is that?
It's I'll
is it too much? Yeah. Okay.
No, I'll share it here in a second. This Madden game's over, so I'll kill my screen share here and I'll pull it up. But it's basically, it goes through and it shows basically a path where every team has beaten a team that beat somebody else, that basically creates a whole circle where every team it's got the scores here. I'll share it on the screen. I always think it's fascinating to follow as it happens. So the Eagles obviously were the last unbeaten team, so the circle of parity is complete now for the season. So you could make a case. You could pick any team and make a case they're better than any other team in the NFL,
right?
By virtue of wins over.
One team beat a team that beat another team. Gotcha. That's funny. I like that.
I always think that's funny. I always look. That's like one of the nerd things that I look forward to every year is seeing the wheel of parity complete.
The Eagles are going to win on Sunday. I agree. Another thing I'm looking for offensively for the Eagles is Jalen Hurts versus DeForest Buckner and Grover Stewart. The Colts have arguably a top 10 defensive line. You look at the Commanders with Jonathan Allen and Daron Payne. These two guys are beasts up the middle for the Colts. You look at kind of Buckner, that this dude ranks 4th among interior defensive linemen in combined sacks and quarterback hits since 2020. So this dude is super good. You've got Kwity Paye, you got Yannick Ngakoue, Grover Stewart. Kwity Paye is a guy that I remember talking a bunch about during the draft process. So I'm excited to get to watch him play. So yeah, the Colts don't blitz a lot. They're bottom 5 when it comes to blitz percentage. So we don't need to be worried about that at all. So expect just a regular 4-man rush for sure. But yeah, Jalen Hurts and how he manages that, interior defensive line will be super, super interesting. Blue City Empire Sports says, if you guys do not know, it was announced that Daniel Jones is tied with Patrick Mahomes with the highest passer rating. Is that true? Daniel Jones?
I know he had a 153.3 this week.
Yeah, but that's not overall. It can't be overall. I don't believe. There's no way. But anyway,
also, who cares?
I love it. Does anybody have any other matchups to watch for the Eagles defense?
Patrick Mahomes doesn't even have the highest passer rating in the NFL right now. Tua does.
Okay.
And then behind Tua, it's Geno Smith, Jalen Hurts, then Patrick Mahomes. You got to go all the way down to like 17th before you hit Daniel Jones.
Yeah, I was going to say.
What the heck are we talking about here? Come on, man. There's no way that made sense. So,
no. You know what? As far as the Eagles defense, I'm still just very confused as why we are not seeing Nakobe Dean. It perplexes me that he's not getting some snaps. I feel like, again, I don't check the snap count, but if he's ever in the game, I certainly have not noticed. Yeah,
he hasn't played since week 1.
I assumed he has not. So I'm wondering what the heck is going on there. There is absolutely an opportunity for him to get on the field, even in a small, package of plays throughout a game, and they're just not giving him the opportunity. So I'm just I'd love to be a fly in the wall and to maybe understand a little more why that's not happening.
That's one of the things that I would be thinking about trying if I was Gannon, and there may be reasons. He may look terrible in practice. I don't know.
Right, yeah.
But I would be contemplating going back to sort of more of a normal 4-3 with Hassan Reddick with a hand in the dirt and put Nakobe Dean in and have Dean, Edwards, and White as 3 linebackers in a 4-3 on early downs to get away from that 5-man front. So that's something I would consider in the interim while you're trying different solutions. But I don't know. It'll be interesting. You mentioned Matt Ryan and getting the ball out quickly, and Matt Ryan looked awful early in the year. He was on a historic fumble pace. He got benched, which was driven by Jim Irsay, for 2 weeks, and got his head coach and his offensive coordinator fired because Sam Ehlinger wasn't good. Like, shocking. Who knew Sam Ehlinger wouldn't be good? And then they hired Jeff Saturday, and Jeff Saturday's like, yeah, Sam Ehlinger's our guy. And then they started Matt Ryan anyways. And so I just kind of wonder, I would love for somebody to ask Frank Reich in an interview, like, hey, how do you feel about the fact that Jeff Saturday got to pick who he wanted to play at quarterback and you didn't? But Matt Ryan, he started 17 of his first 21 on Sunday. He only took 1 sack. He did lose a fumble because he loses fumble every game, but he only took 1 sack. It was getting the ball out quick. He even had some runs. He outrushed Jalen Hurts on Sunday. So,
he had a 39-yard scramble.
Yeah, the slowest 30-yard scramble ever.
Maybe Matty Ice just needed to ice up for 2 weeks and take a drink out of that fountain of youth, and he's back. I don't know, but this is an offense that does not really have much in the way of receiving threats. They've got Alec Pierce, he's the rookie, whatever. That Paris Campbell, they don't have receivers for you to be afraid of. They don't have a Terry McLaurin that you're afraid of taking the top off of the defense. And so given that Matt Ryan wants to get the ball out quickly and you're not really afraid of being beaten over the top, I do think this is where you see more aggressiveness from the defensive backs. I think you're going to want to let that show some confidence in them, let them get up on the line, punch a guy in the mouth early in the game, figuratively speaking, of course, and get those juices flowing. So I do think you're going to see some more aggressiveness out of the gate from Gannon early in this game.
Hopefully.
Love it. All right. Let's go. Mr. Colt says 4th total defense. Let's jump right into predictions. Sunday's game. Ryan's lead us off. What's your gut feeling right now?
Hopefully taking this one first.
I will take this. The last time I was on this show was for the Steelers preview. I guessed 31-14, and the final score of the Steelers game was 31-13. So I feel pretty confident. I'm going to go 29-24 Eagles.
29-24 in a close game. What about you, Ryan? Other Ryan.
I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna say 36-19. Weird score. 19. I'm predicting weirdness when it comes to scoring. Missed extra point.
You told us the score. You didn't tell us who wins.
Oh, that's Eagles. True. Sorry, you're right. I just assume Eagles always.
I was just making sure you're not one of those people that's off the rails on Twitter now. That's like they're never gonna win again, and
yeah, you just see me running in the background on fire. Just
love it. What about you, Shane?
I'm gonna go 35-10 Eagles. I think the Eagles are gonna show up to Indianapolis pissed off on Sunday. Yeah. I think that the Colts organization is kind of a joke right now. They got the win against an awful Raiders team with Jeff Saturday and a guy who's never coached before and a play caller who's never called plays before. I don't think that continues. I think they're going to run into a freight train on Sunday. So I think the Eagles are going to come out, and I think this is going to feel like the Steelers game where we can just kick back with our feet on our desks and watch the second half and know it's over.
I don't know. I have a different vibe, Shane. The Jeff Saturday variable is kind of interesting. For me, for whatever reason, I feel like we're going to see chaos, and that might not be good on the Eagles side. I think the Eagles get the W in this one, but like Ryan too said, I think it's going to be closer. I think it's going to be somewhere in that like 17-10. Eagles get the W. And it could be another sloppy game. Could be one of those, in Indianapolis where it's just sloppy, just sloppy. Eagles struggling to move the ball on the ground, as we have seen in the first half, and then who knows, any given Sunday. So 17-10, Eagles get the W.
I wonder what the
45 is the over/under.
Wow.
And Philly's favored by 6.5, essentially a touchdown.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
That opened at like 10.5
Yeah.
So that's plummeted.
You lose the game and everybody just, loses their mind. Even Vegas.
All right.
You should ask this guy about his 15-leg parlay that he tried to get.
All
in one game.
I went a little nuts. They were all just so nice and easy, man. It was.
So the Vegas line is saying 26-20 Eagles then.
Basically, yeah.
Cool.
If I was the Eagles, for sure. So the Eagles have won every coin toss this year, which is kind of a crazy stat. They've won every coin toss all season.
Throw that in your next parlay.
Yeah, throw that in your next parlay. But if the Eagles win the coin toss, I would take the ball. I'd put the offense out on the field first and go take a lead. I wouldn't put the defense on the field and let Jonathan Taylor have a 14-play drive that takes 9 minutes off the clock, and the offense is sitting on the sideline thinking, "Here we go again." If I win the toss, I'm taking the ball on Sunday.
I don't think they've done that once this year. I'm pretty certain they've deferred.
Yeah, always.
They have, because they've always had a shot for the 2-for-1, score at the end of the half, get the ball first. But I'm taking the ball on Sunday for sure.
Love it. All right, let's wrap it up. Lead us off, Shane. Where can we find you, man? Plugs?
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at @halfandhalf_TPL, right over here somewhere, right there. You can follow me on YouTube at Shane Half NFL. I'll have a little bit of a short week this week, but I'm going to try to get some All-22 content out. You can also catch me on the BGN radio, or the Bleeding Green Nation feed for the BGN Radio post-game reaction show. So I was on there ranting about the game last night, and then I'll have a new EPA podcast with Victor dropping sometime tomorrow. You can check out Chalk Talk going live right after this. Basically, just keep it tuned to my Twitter, and I'll let you know where everything's at. But Twitter and YouTube, those are the two best places.
Love it, man. Amazing Eagles follow if you're not following already. Ryan, you are
you could follow us at Philly Sports PSA on Twitter, on Facebook, YouTube. We got shows throughout the week. Obviously, all of the TPL shows are streaming live on our Facebook. So put on those automatic notifications so that way you get all the PSA shows, you get all the TPL shows right to your Facebook. Super easy. But yeah, me and this guy, Philly Broadcast, we took tonight off because we were both very tired from last night. But normally, right before this show, we're on live. And then, of course, Mondays, I do the Football Smack Talk show with another host here that sometimes pops in, Eric, for the Football Smack Talk on Monday. And, plenty of other shows going on through Philly Sports Alliance. So follow us. And,
Yeah, follow Shane and Dives, both of them, where I get a lot of my stuff. So I enjoy following. You guys laugh every time I say that. I'm actually serious. You guys know what you're talking about.
just a little bit.
I mean, we did both predict wins over the Commanders, so maybe we don't know that much.
Yeah.
So did a lot of people.
Yeah.
All right. Kyle Jones says it's like the 35-10 prediction. If we can't stop the problem going forward, especially with the Titans game on the horizon. Party on Broadway's back this week. We will be going live on Thursday night, counting down our top 10 favorite draft targets, Eagles draft targets for the 2023 NFL draft. I'm really excited. I've been so obsessed with this draft class. And there's several guys that I've got circled, and I can't wait to see where these guys fall among others rankings. So I can't wait. I'm really excited. I've been throwing out polls, kind of just getting a feel of what everyone else thinks about positions of need for the Eagles in this draft. But I think it's a really strong draft that bodes well for the Eagles' needs, like edge rusher, interior defensive line. There's a couple cornerbacks at the top that are really super intriguing, like a Keely Ringo or a Cam Smith, and so forth and so forth. So draft coverage starts this week in just a couple of days, Thursday night at 8 o'clock, and we'll be breaking it down. I'll have mid-season rankings of all my favorite guys, position by position, before the Combine and of course, the Senior Bowl. And then we'll finish it off, I'm sure, with tons of talk and you name it. Mock drafts, shows, specials, all of the above. So it's going to be a ton of fun. Let's wrap it up. Please go check out Philly Sports Alliance on Facebook, YouTube, wherever you find your content. Amazing guys over there. Ryan 2 more so than Ryan 1. But thank you everyone for watching. Down there is my man Shane at @halfandhalf_TPL. One of the best Eagles follows there is. Go check out his amazing work for Bleeding Green Nation. So proud of you, bro. And check out thepaintlines.com. If you're watching, please consider hitting that subscribe button, like button, help us out. And then, of course, our other brothers, Edge of Philly Sports, EOPsports.com. Just really solid people all around. We've been doing pregame, halftime, postgame live shows, kind of teaming up for everything Philadelphia Eagles on game days. It's been awesome. And then that pretty much wraps it up. So thank you, everyone, for watching. Comments were awesome tonight. This is Birds of the Roundtable. We go live every single Tuesday night at 8 o'clock. kind of giving our reactions and previews and everything in between. Stay tuned for Chalk Talk. I think, is that going down right after this, Shane?
Yeah, we'll be live in 5 or 10 minutes. We will review the NFL week as a whole. We spend about 20 minutes talking about the Eagles game, and then we talk about all the other games. So if you're an Eagles fan that wants to know what's going on all around the league, but you don't get to watch all those games, you're glued to the Eagles game. Maybe not as big a deal this week since it was Monday night, but Mark and I go back, we divide up, we watch those games, we talk about all of them. So even if you're a fan of another team, you're going to hear your team talked about. So come check it out. We always joke that it's going to be an hour episode. It's always an hour and a half. So, but it's a good time.
Love it. All right, guys. For the Ryans, for Shane, for myself, stay awesome, everyone. We'll see you next week. Go Birds.
Go Birds.
Go Bears.